I'm Don Samulack, President of U.S. Operations at Editage, Cactus Communications, and I'm here in London in the UK at the Digital Science offices within the Macmillan building, talking to Euan, Adie, founder and CEO of Altmetric. And so welcome, and this is another of the vignette series of our discussions. So it may be a no-brainer how you define the name of the company as Altmetric because of capturing great brand opportunity at the time that the company was formed. So maybe we can just take a second to talk about why the company at a certain threshold of the change of how we perceive research, and what was the trigger for you as an entrepreneur to really say, this is necessary, and then how did you take it forward?
The way we approached it was, well, I say, coming at it from a different angle, which is as a reader rather than an author. So it always struck me as really weird that there was so much conversation about papers online. If you look at science blogs, for example, you find people writing mini reviews of papers. Increasingly nowadays, there's sites like PubPeer or Publons or PubMed Commons where researchers are leaving you feedback on your work. But none of that stuff is visible to you as an author unless you're hunting on all these different sites. And none of it's visible to you as a reader either. And it's actually possibly quite useful for you when you reach a new paper, especially if it's in a field that's connected to yours but not your primary focus, to get some feedback from other people in the area who know what they're talking about. So originally Altmetric started, and it was about collecting this data, but mainly for publishers to show visitors to their site. And then as time went on and we figured out that actually all these sources were indicative of some of these other types of impact, that's when it shifted much more towards kind of funding and grant opportunities. But originally it was much more about discovery, really.
So in the relationship with digital science, and it may be horse and cart, but did you seek to be within a digital science envelope, or because of the opportunities as an entrepreneur, or digital science because of their portfolio and looking for cutting edge types of things? Did they seek you, or was it a marriage of convenience between the both of you?
That's a good question. So Altmetric ended up with digital science for a bunch of different reasons. First of all, it was a good fit for a company. The research space isn't really a place where there's hundreds of $1 million floating around for startups. So when we were looking for investment from someone, it had to be from someone who understood the market and kind of had realistic views on what we wanted to do. Our kind of company mission isn't, we're not heading for an IPO or anything. Like, what we want to do is also support researchers. It's not all about, just making a profit from them. Digital science support, that kind of thing. The other reason, frankly, is because of the connection with Nature Publishing Group. Not strategically, but because I used to work for Nature Publishing Group. Okay. So I knew digital science quite well. I trusted them. I thought they knew what they were talking about.
So Altmetric within the digital science group, why does that make sense for you? What does digital science represent under Macmillan for the research community? Sort of big picture things.
I think for us, one of the reasons we were attracted to science is because there's so many other portfolio companies, which is the other companies involved under digital science umbrella, working in research and with science. So first of all, there was a good opportunity just to be in the same building with people working on the same problems, and it's quite exciting to be able to share ideas and things. A lot of us come from research or from other areas connected to research, like publishing or funders. So it's helpful to have that kind of ready-built expertise here all in the same place. More generally, or more concretely rather, it means we can work together across the entire researcher workflow. So if you look at the different companies that make up digital science, actually, a lot of them do cater to authors and readers on the other side of the spectrum. Right away from authoring up to actually consuming the final output and interpreting it and using it in funding statements or grant reports and this kind of thing.
And so many of the author community may recognize Altmetric and may recognize other companies within the digital science community.
Yeah.
What is it about digital science as what I'll call an incubator of these cutting edge companies that are changing the face of research. What is it about digital science that an average researcher should know in order to pay attention to or to follow the progress of companies like Altmetric and the others under the umbrella of digital science?
I think there's a few good things from an objective perspective about digital science. So the first is that it's supported by a larger company. So even though we're all startups, we do have the backing of this larger company. I think the other thing is there's a certain level of quality across the products. Digital science, certainly, like when I first joined, they're very keen on things like user experience and the way things are presented and making sure that it really does make life easier for researchers. And they genuinely put a lot of effort into helping the companies deliver on that.
Okay, so it's great. I enjoyed talking with you as I always do, and we'll leave it there for now. And thank you for our talk today.
Thanks, Tom.